Good evening, everyone. We're truly glad to have you back with us tonight. Some say witches are just old myths. But what happens when one moves into your neighborhood and sets her eyes on someone you love? Tonight's story is a chilling tale of obsession, dark rituals, and a battle for someone's soul. If you enjoy unsettling stories about witchcraft and the unknown, don't forget to subscribe and join our growing community of nighttime horror seekers. You're watching Sleep Horror Stories. My name is Rachel. I'm from the U.S., from a small town just outside of Birmingham, Alabama. And what I'm about to tell you happened over the course of a few years, specifically between 2007 and 2009. It was, without a doubt, one of the most disturbing things my family and I have ever gone through. It all centers around a woman who, for reasons I still don't understand, became disturbingly obsessed with my younger brother, Nathan. We had always lived in a quiet little community on the edge of town. Our house was small but cozy. We knew every single one of our neighbors. Except for one, a woman who had moved in not long before all this started. She was around 35, and I'll call her Judith. Judith was unlike anyone else in the neighborhood. Not in how she looked, but in how she acted. She was cold, distant, and extremely rude. She never said hello, made weird noises late at night, and constantly left big trash bags out on her lawn, sometimes days before garbage pickup. People in the community whispered she was a witch. I didn't pay much attention to the gossip at first, but I have to admit, something about her made me uneasy. A few months after she moved in, my brother Nathan turned 17. He was tall, athletic, handsome, so of course he caught the attention of a lot of girls around his age. But there was someone else watching him too, someone he wasn't even aware of. Judith. She used to stare at him from her balcony. I noticed it one evening when he came to meet me by the basketball court at the bottom of the hill where I get off work. We'd usually walk home together around 6 or 7 p.m. He never seemed to notice her watching. Or maybe he just didn't care. But I noticed, and I didn't like it. Whenever we passed by, she'd lock her eyes on him. And I swear it felt like she was undressing him with her mind. It made my skin crawl. She was nearly 20 years older than him, and the way she looked at him, it wasn't just creepy. It was wrong. I told my mom, but she brushed it off, said I was overreacting. I even started to feel silly, like maybe I was just being possessive. But Nathan was still a minor. When I asked Nathan about it, he just laughed, said she was weird but harmless. So I dropped it, thinking nothing would come of it. But I had no idea what Judith was capable of. Everything changed one evening in May, a few months after Nathan's birthday. For the first time, he didn't meet me at the court. That was our thing. I found it odd, but assumed he got held up. So I started walking home. But as I got closer, I saw him, standing on the sidewalk talking to Judith. She was on her balcony, smiling down at him like they were old friends. I walked up quickly. Nathan waved at me. But Judith, she looked at me with pure hatred. Her face changed in an instant. Smiling one second, then full of rage the next. Then back to fake sweetness, like she didn't want Nathan to notice. It made my stomach turn. When I asked Nathan what they were talking about, he brushed it off, said it was nothing. But it wasn't nothing. From that night on, Nathan started waiting for me outside Judith's house instead of at the court. Then he stopped waiting altogether. He started spending hours talking to her. Slowly, he began pulling away from our mom. And from me. We used to be best friends. Suddenly, he wouldn't talk to me, wouldn't tell me anything. His habits changed. He stopped playing basketball, stopped jogging, stopped eating right. His funny, sharp personality faded, replaced by constant irritability. Only time he seemed remotely happy was when he was around Judith. Again, I brought it up with Mom. This time, she listened. She started asking around about Judith. Most people didn't know much, but our neighbor, an older lady who was friends with Mom, told her something in confidence. She believed Judith was a witch. and that Nathan was under some kind of spell. I was furious. I'm a devout Catholic, and anything involving spells or witchcraft fills me with disgust. I confronted Nathan again. He denied everything, so we were being paranoid that he could make his own choices. But he looked sick, pale, thin, tired, like he'd aged 10 years in just a few months. A year passed. I felt helpless, watching him waste away. Then one night, he didn't come home. I called and called. Nothing. At sunrise, I saw him coming out of Judith's house. His clothes were different. His face was drained. But she looked radiant, young, rejuvenated. She looked right at me, smirking, like she was proud of stealing him from us. I couldn't let that happen, not without a fight. I knew I couldn't reach him by scolding or confronting him again. So I changed my approach. I tried to understand him. Slowly, he let me back in. He said Judith made him feel seen, that unlike other women, she understood him. Which was strange because just a year ago, Nathan was still acting like a goofy teenager. But I didn't say that. I listened. Eventually, he opened up more, and one night, I asked him the question that changed everything. Nate, what do you think she sees in you? I mean, how do you think this all started? I was scared to ask, afraid he'd shut down again. But he didn't. He paused, really thinking about it. He said he didn't know. Yeah, he was good looking, but that wasn't enough to explain her obsession. Then he told me how it all began. One afternoon around 4 p.m., he was heading to the basketball court when she called out to him in this sweet, soft voice. And just like that, something changed. She suddenly seemed beautiful. They had coffee, and from that day forward, everything was different. That confirmed it for me. She had done something to him, something unnatural. But what could we do? I went to the one person I trusted most, Father Augustine, our priest. He didn't just tell me to pray and walk away. Instead, he gave me two things, a small bottle of holy water and a blessed medallion from his personal collection. Give it to Nathan, he said, and bring it back once everything's over. He told me to stay strong in my faith, that we'd be okay. That night, I sprinkled holy water all over our house, especially in Nathan's room. Then I gave him the medallion and asked him to wear it. To my surprise, he smiled, like the old Nathan, and put it on before bed. It was late 2008. A couple weeks went by, and I didn't notice much change. But one day, while I was at work, Nathan called me in a panic. He said Judith was furious. She tried to rip the medallion off him. Something inside him told him not to let her. Now he was home, terrified, and our mom wasn't back from work yet. I begged my boss to let me leave early and rushed home. As I passed by Judith's house, she stepped outside to confront me. She screamed curses and told me to stay out of it, or we'd all suffer. I snapped. I yelled back. Told her she had no power over us. She growled and stormed back inside. But I knew it wasn't over. Nathan was trembling when I got inside. He said that lately, he'd started to see Judith differently. She was controlling, cruel. Things she'd said in the past that once seemed funny now felt insulting. She'd insulted Mom, me, everyone. And now, she wasn't even attractive to him anymore. When I asked if he ever wanted to see her again, he said no. Finally, I could breathe again. In the following weeks, he started to look like himself again. Color came back to his face, and he picked up his old habits. Whenever we walked past Judith's house, we tried to avoid eye contact. But she'd be there, watching. Every time. Then in January, things escalated. One night, I heard pots and pans clanging in the kitchen around 2 a.m. I got up to tell whoever was to knock it off, but when I got there, the kitchen was empty. Cabinets open, pots on the floor. Nathan and Mom were just coming out of their rooms, just as confused. These disturbances kept happening, night after night. Once, the chandelier started swaying, yet all the windows were closed. Mom said she felt someone sit on the edge of her bed. Swore she saw a shadow behind her in the mirror while brushing her teeth. Nathan had it worse. He'd see shadows in the corners of his eyes. One morning, he woke up with 3 long scratches across his chest. By mid-February, he was seriously sick. The doctor said it was just a flu, but he looked half dead. And Judith? She was still calling him, still showing up at her doorstep. I knew she was behind it. This was punishment. I called Father Augustine again. He came right away. Over the next month, he visited us weekly, prayed over us, blessed every room. At first, it made the disturbances worse. But slowly, they started to fade. Then one afternoon, as Father Augustine was leaving, he stopped in front of Judith's house. I never told him where she lived. He stared up at her window. She stepped out onto her balcony. He said, "You who wish to destroy, you won't find anything here. You do well to leave. The one you seek to harm walks with God, and you have no power over him." She spit on the ground and screamed profanities, but the priest didn't flinch. He turned to me and said, "It's over. Just give it time." And he was right. Within 2 months, the disturbances vanished. Judith moved out, left behind a disgusting mess in that house. But that wasn't the worst part. Inside, they found an altar with black candles, locks of hair, and photos of Nathan. Photos of me, my mom. Mine had been scratched out and torn in half. Nathan admitted he'd given her those photos, but he had no idea what she'd done with them. It was 2 years of hell, but it finally ended. We went back to Father Augustine to return the medallion, but he told us to keep it. Evil exists, he said, but so does good. And it's stronger. When I asked why Judith had done it, what she wanted, he just shrugged. Sometimes, he said, evil doesn't need a reason. But you're safe now. And he was right. We never saw her again, and I hope to God we never do.